All right, for the final part of Project 3, this is going to be Phase 4, and it is the color inspiration, color sampling, and color assignment or designation portion. All right, and so in this phase, you're going to learn ways to sample color and inspirational images and then assign them using PMS or Pantone matching system for spot color. And you'll get a different and separate tutorial on how to do that. All right, we'll talk about that separately. But just to give you an idea of how this is going to look, um, let's look at a case study really quickly. Okay, so the idea is that you're going to be exploring color systems, and you know, there's a really good way of doing this. Like you can sample from real life, you know, graphics like raster graphics um, to get an idea of what it is that you want to portray. And you know, especially if you're having a hard time sort of starting somewhere with color. So you can go out and find some different photographs that you think have a look and feel, you know, whether it's the color or something else, but mostly it's about color, um, that you think really goes well in some way or represents the feeling that you're trying to give off with your mark. And so you can take this and then you would take samples from that using a color picker in Illustrator, and then you can uh, pull the Pantone or PMS system colors, also referred to as spot colors, so that you can get the Pantone number. And this was one of those things that we sort of brushed on this or touched on the topic in the last assignment or in the last project for the color study. But you know, spot color is something where it's typically used with logos, you know, or some sort of like mark system where you only have like a limited palette of color, like one color, two color, three color, or you know, sometimes four color, but we're not going to go that far. And the reason that you would use Pantone color is because the color will always be consistent. So instead of, you know, just sending out something to press and saying, we want this to be, you know, sort of these colors of blue, and they mix their inks up and print it in different percentages on the system, you know, it might be one color of blue, you know, in March of, you know, 2015, but then 3 years later when you have to go get the stuff reprinted in March of 2018, for instance, then the colors might be very different, right? It might have a different kind of blue that maybe is not acceptable to you. And so, or maybe if you take it to a different printer, it'll look different. Well, with Pantone, the colors are mixed in a warehouse and they're sold and shipped out in cans so that the color is always going to be absolutely consistent. Um, and it can be, you know, guaranteed. And you know, whether you print with a printer in New York City versus you print with somebody in Canada versus you print with somebody in New Mexico, for instance, right? If you're using the PMS printing system, then printing colors, then you're going to have consistent color. All right, and so anyway, that's the point of this part of the study, is introducing you to that, and you know, and also developing a color system for something, right, that's going to enhance the look and feel. So this is just a case study where you can see that these sample colors were picked from this picture, and so was this from this picture. And then you can take a color system and then, like, you can see how in this example of this particular emblemized mark, this is one color. You know, if you took one color and then you only used tints and shades of that color, for instance, right? So you've got different tints and shades here, versus this one down below it where it's starting off with two different color options and then using tints and shades of those two colors, you can see how different that piece looks, right? And so it costs a little bit more money whenever you have a two color versus a one color, for instance. Anyway, so, and then this other part is how would that apply then to your pattern. So this is just, as I said before, just an example, okay? Okay, and then here's another example using the same symbol that we used as examples in some of the other ones for the protection icon. All right, and you can see how these two different things look really different. And you can see on the left, this is a three color and there are no tints or shades. It's just solid 3 colors, and that's it. The color is the color. And in this particular case, this is a cool color system. And on the right, it's a warm color system, right? Using warm colors, primarily warm colors. And again, this is a 3-color PMS, and it's only using the color, except for the orange, it is using a tint. Okay. All right. So those are just some case studies to give you an idea of how you can do representative color like that. And then if you wanted to actually look at some former student work that is going to be relevant to what it is that you're doing specifically, right, then we can take a look at this file right here. Okay, so this is the documentation that I would give to you that you would have to plop your stuff into. Okay, so these, in this particular instance, this student used a cool color from the ocean, like that was going to be the basis of her cool color palette, and then on the left is some sushi. That was the basis for the warm color. And so what you're going to have to do, first of all, is you'll have to do a 2-color spot with tints only, no shades. Okay, and I'll explain later why no shades, but right now you'll just get this as the explanation. All right, and then on the right you see we've got this Pantone 2-color spot with tints, and it's the cool colors, and the Pantone colors are called out, and these are the tints of it. And then I'm also asking you to additionally pick a 3-color option for both of those, where you're not selecting tints and shades, you're just picking the actual color. Okay, and so and then you see on the right over here, these are the different marks, the regular mark and then the emblemized mark, using a 2-color system. All right, and then you might see that there's some white in here. That just means that there was no printing there. Okay. And by the way, I want to point something out. The other thing too that is true, is sort of problematic, is that technically with Pantone color, this black would actually be a color if we were doing Pantone print. So this actually then would end up being a 3-color, not a 2-color, the ones that have the black right here. Now, the ones that are over here on the right, there's the one on the bottom, and that's a very, very dark blue that actually could end up being a shade of this, but the problem is that you would end up having to do black. So technically, only the top right one is really good in terms of the perfect representation, because it does not have black in it. All right, so, and because black would end up becoming a 3rd color. White would be the presumptive white ground or paper that it would be printed on, so that could just be a no print area. Okay, so that's just something to consider. All right, and again, here's another example. In the top left is kind of a perfect example of a 3-color that's used properly. Down below, you end up having that black issue again, right? So that's just something I'm pointing out. These are both still really good examples, except the whole thing with the black. But it's a good teaching opportunity as well. All right, and then on this one, you can see the layout is consistent from the other ones, because you're going to be using the documentation template I give you. But the student chose these 2 pictures and then pulled the different colors respectively from that, and you can see what their color assignment for the symbol was on the right over here for these 2 different options, a cooler version and a slightly warmer version. And then this was the patterning using a 3-color at the top, and then they used 2-color with tints down at the bottom as their example, as another example. Okay, this is another one that you've seen before, okay, in previous versions if you watch the other explanations of the assignments. So again, we've got a warm color on the left side here and a cool color on this right side, using two colors and then 3 colors down at the bottom. And then over on the right page, we have the symbols marked up in those colors. And then you can see here for the pattern, this is what I was talking about before, where the student prior to this had the sort of lighter blue mask. It had a flat top. And so you can see that she sort of like cut it away a little bit so that the line undulates and keeps your eyes flowing better within here. So this is an example of where even after the third phase, she came back and she improved it so that in the fourth phase, the color assignment part was good. Okay. All right, here's another one. Again, you can see what the colors are, and then these are the patterns. Okay. And another one, this one was to represent the word rhythm. Really good, actually. Okay. And then this is a really good example of the patterning. And again, this was the one that ended up in extreme sports. And you can see the pattern here, okay? And I think this is might be the last one, possibly. And so this is the one that ended up being nature, ending up in the word seed. So we have this acorn. You can see the color assignments here and the patterning with the color assignments, okay? All right, so let's go back to look at the assignment. All right, so let's look at the instructions. So sampling color from photograph. All right, so we'll do some demos. There will be some demos in here later, but basically it's going to require some thoughtfulness about the meaning of your brand. And even though this isn't like a company, I'm still calling it a brand, right? Because that's effectively what you're creating, is sort of like a brand of some sort, right? Even though it doesn't have an actual company behind it with an actual mission statement and vision statement and all that stuff, right? Anyway, be sure to select the colors that are going to keep the message consistent with your connotative words. And to learn more about common color associations, I suggest that you click on this, read this color symbolism and culture article. It's very helpful. Okay, so I want you to select two images, one warm and one cool, that you feel represents the color for your mark, and then patterns, you know, that you can use effectively to convey their meaning. All right, so and you're going to use the eyedropper. You're going to sample the colors and make swatches from them. And you're going to ultimately select only 2 of the colors to use in the mark and up to 3 colors in the pattern. All right, and we'll go over later how to make those into Pantones. Okay, and then remember, you can also check out this paleton.com to experiment with these sample colors to identify your color schemes as well. But even though this isn't going to have Pantone assignments, just want to let you know you can start there. Adding color to the mark. All right, so once you settle on your colors, you're going to convert them to the PMS color system, and then you're going to create a 2-color spot or Pantone option for the mark, right? And this stuff, as you're reading this, you can look at some of the student examples to kind of see what we're talking about, but you'll have to identify that PMS number for every one of your swatches, and you're going to save your swatch, and you're going to put all of that stuff in the documentation. Okay, and yeah, okay, so then you're going to add color to the patterns as well, and whenever you're finally finished with that, you can download this documentation template and put all of your stuff in that template, save it as a PDF, and turn it in here at this discussion board. Now, right here where it says adding color to the patterns, one point I do want to make is that I'm giving you some options here. So in addition, to colorizing the mark, you're also going to do the pattern. You can you're going to have to make 2 different colorized versions, all right? So you have the option of using the same color scheme that you used in step 1, right? So step 1 would have been up here, adding color to your mark, right? So you can use the same color scheme, but the second one, if you want to, for the second version, if you want to use a strict 3-color spot selection with no tints or shades, you can do that too. All right, so and then if you want to make both patterns using the strict 3-color spot, you can do that. So you have a few options here. Just kind of reread this and make sure that you understand. If you don't, feel free to email me or ask me questions here in the discussion, okay? All right, and then that's going to conclude the project set of assignments. We will do stuff with all of this later, so make sure you keep all of your files intact. It's really, really important. You're going to end up doing more documentation, but in something that you could use as a portfolio spread, right? So this is important to make sure you keep all of this stuff together. That's it for now.